So, hello everyone. Welcome to IWMBuzz. I have with me the lovely Sarabjeet Sachar sir over here. He's an inspirational coach. He talks about interviews. He talks about guidance. He talks about a lot of interesting stuff. First of all, sir, thank you so much for being with us over here on IWMBuzz. How are you doing?
Absolutely fine. I'm absolutely great. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. The thing that you do right now, it is something which is quite a niche in itself because when we talk about content creation, even in today's time, it is not the first idea that comes into any young influencer's mind. Of course, you need a great variety of experience as well. So, when was the first time you actually had the idea of creating video content for such a niche department like interview coaching and job related skills, etc.?
Yeah, Sunny. I've spent about 35 years now, and I have aspiration as our own executive search and a recruitment agency. So it was about 6 years back that I started actually the career services division. Career services is primarily assisting job seekers with the interview success and strategizing a job search strategy. So basically, people wouldn't know how to go about searching for a job. They don't get the response to their applications. They do not know what kind of skills to present. How things have changed and how networking is playing an important role. So in terms of content creation, I started creating these videos about last August. So it's just going to be about a year now. And I started with reels on Facebook. So only a 30-seconder or a 1 minute in terms of giving them tips as to what are the steps they should take in terms of searching for a job. So it's about a year. That's how I started.
Wonderful. You want to add something?
Yeah. The kind of response I started getting was phenomenal. Means, because this is something which nobody is doing, especially in the content creation side. And I've been quite consistent in terms of developing one video every day. So when I started getting good response, people would ask me questions and then I would answer them through my videos. In terms of offering them something completely non-traditional was working very well, because this is something which generally a recruitment agency wouldn't be able to help them. So you needed somebody who could handhold them, tell them that these are the areas that you have to look at in terms of job search. So when the response was good, I continued. And today we are at 150,000 followers in Facebook, just in a span of about 5-6 months, actually.
Fantastic. And I think the numbers are only going to grow from here onwards. But tell me, of course, when you do anything, there's always a lot of interesting feedback that's coming in as well. Some are constructive, some are not so constructive. How have you probably embedded those constructive feedbacks that have come your way in order to become better in your craft? What are some of the interesting feedbacks maybe that you have got so far?
Sure. So what happens is generally because my target audience is the job seeker. So job seekers in their day-to-day job search, and job search is a very, very, I would say, a very tough job. Because, generally when people are looking for jobs, nobody really plans for a job search. Very few people would say that, okay, now 6 months down the line, I must look for a job, and hence. So generally, it's more of the situation at that point in time that I want to look. And that's where the mistakes happen. So the feedback that I would get, oh, wow, I never thought of this. So even I'll give you a simple example. When you don't have a salary slip and you are looking for a job, and your prospective employer asks you that, can you produce a salary slip? You don't have a salary slip. You're working for a company which does not even give you an appointment letter or an offer letter. What do? How do you prove your credentials in terms of your compensation? Because that's going to be a base for negotiation. So something like that, when it started coming, sir, this is what is the kind of difficulty I'm facing. This way, I started getting a lot of questions through my videos, wherein they were very specific. Somebody said that I work for a very small setup. How do I move to a large company? Or somebody wanted to move to a smaller company. He was working for a very large brand. He did not know how to answer this question, that why do you want to leave such a large brand and work for a smaller organization? So when this kind of feedback started coming in, and when people would start getting in results and they would start cracking interviews, I would embed that, because ultimately whatever they were telling me were real practical problems. That's the real pain of a job seeker. So I started inculcating that and devising videos. And I think the feedback continued to come that, okay, fine, I solved this problem. Can you tell me about a resume bit or something like that? So that's how I've been doing.
Wonderful. Just like every other content creator, whatever be the niche, whatever be their respective department, there's always a challenge, because there are a lot of people who are doing the same thing. The department or the niche might be different, but content creation in itself is quite common if you talk about Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or any other platform. what do you think is the biggest challenge of any content creator in today's time?
So I would say the biggest challenge for any content creator is really
Yeah.
to be your genuine self and being able to truly add value to your audience, frankly. Because, if you're creating content, if you're genuine about it, and if you're really genuinely intending to help somebody through or reach the message which you're wanting to reach, genuinely doing that, I think you have a success plan. Now, whenever content creators are trying to kind of means obviously all of us evolve, all of us learn when we are into content creation. But if that intent is very genuine, I would again say you are able to give it back and fine tune your content accordingly. So I think the biggest challenge is how genuine are you in terms of really adding value and not just looking at, okay, can I continue to add numbers? How are you engaging and how is the audience able to relate to your content and able to get benefit, whatever be the benefit, whether it is learning, in my case, it is learning, I'm imparting learning. So whether it is that or whether it is just pure entertainment, are you able to find that connect? Now that connect doesn't come so very easily and it can be very short term. If you're just wanting to kind of make it, fly by night operators, there are so many content creators who would be doing that. So that is one.
Yeah, understandable. Just like anybody else as well, I'm pretty sure when you started, you had a certain vision. Now that you have grown in this, I'm pretty sure you want to enhance your content creation game and maybe get better in the next 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever be the timeline. How do you plan to enhance your creation game in the next maybe few months or years?
So what I have done is I have started doing a lot of live sessions. I've added a lot of live sessions and webinars, which have become very frequent through the same medium, that is on Facebook going live or on LinkedIn going live.
Yeah.
Also in terms of forming certain groups. So that has kind of been an extension of whatever I'm doing. So formed a group on Facebook where people can walk in and become part of that group. So these are all variations which are happening, which is only helping the reach. And in terms of engagement, there are different formats. So you have a Q&A session twice a month. You interview HR people on Facebook once in a month. All these kind of things which I've been doing have been paying huge dividends in terms of engagement. Because that feedback I do get that, okay, your Q&A session was excellent and can you do a Q&A session on that? So it's extending from just creating a content through a video reel into maybe a format of a live session or a webinar or interviewing some HR heads or some CEOs of the company. So this, I want to do this continuously.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you will as well. Of course, you carry a baggage of, I would say, I think 35 years. I think that's quite a long time. Right. Of course, with every passing year, things change and people adapt. Of course, things that were probably relevant maybe 35 years before, a lot of things have changed in terms of industry requirements, the soft skills that's needed, etc., and all that stuff. So how do you personally ensure, sir, that you stay updated with everything so that you can also impart the knowledge successfully to the young minds?
All right. So there are two things that I continuously do because I'm into personal coaching also. So what happens when people come to me for one-to-one coaching, it's always a new learning for me because every person is coming up with a unique problem. Somebody is in the IT industry, wants to move to another industry. Somebody who's in the IT industry in the non-technical side wants to move to the technical side. How do you plan his entire job search methodology? How do you plan his strategy? So whenever I'm doing coaching, I really am updated every time because I do a lot of coaching in a day. So whenever I'm coaching people, I learn from that. Okay, this is a problem that is happening right now, which was perhaps not existing maybe even a year back. And the pandemic, post-pandemic skills change. Somebody says post-pandemic, this has happened. So that's one. Second, I do a lot of reading internationally. I'm saying that in terms of what are the trends internationally, how LinkedIn has become important. So I constantly keep on updating myself by reading myself that, okay, what is it that is as a job search strategy? Because this industry is quite matured abroad in America. So I'm following a lot of reading from there, material from there. Anything that I can lay my hands on in terms of job search, I would have read it. And I'm a voracious reader. So these two things I do. One is the practical experience of my coaching. From that I learn. And second is keeping myself updated by reading.
Yeah. And you mentioned this that, because of pandemic and all that stuff, the requirements have also changed. So if I may ask you that, what in today's time do you think are the essential soft skill requirements or maybe just the basic parameters that maybe a job seeker must have in order to, crack that one job that he or she desires?
Sure. See, before I would say the pandemic, the importance on the soft skills and the transferable skills have gone up tremendously. See, whenever somebody is hiring a job seeker,
Yeah.
He's being hired holistically. He's not being hired only for his domain skills, right? His hard skills. There are soft skills. So there are certain soft skills which have become very important, like adaptability, learning ability, flexibility, a lot of resilience, the power to actually fail and get up, and experiment. So one finds that even when you talk of in a candidate, when he's being interviewed, people are wanting people who are able to experiment, learn, and from the experience of that learning, that is not looking at it as failure, fine tune their approach and immediately try and see that they can adapt to something different. So gone are those days where, you know, one would sit down for a performance annual review once in a year. It's not like that anymore. So the skills that are in demand are the soft skills right now. And I do give a lot of importance in my coaching also, that all these skills, they might not be mentioned in your resume, but they play a very important role as far as the outcome is concerned. So whenever you're telling a success story, how adaptable I am, how much I have learned, and how I implemented, and how resilient I am. These are all things which were not so very important maybe the pre-pandemic days. Today they are very, very important. So anybody who wants to transfer into another industry uses his transferable skills, adaptability, relationship building, all these are transferable skills, and they are all soft skills. So you might be the best IT guy, but if you do not have collaborative skills, how will you progress? So these kind of skills have become very important, Sunny.
Wonderful. And you talk about the point of, I think changing industries. I think that's something a lot of people do. Like, maybe they have had a certain educational background because of which they join a certain kind of job, but maybe they don't get their ideal job satisfaction because of which they want to change and maybe experiment into something new. But the biggest point is that even whether that experiment is going to work for them or not is something you never know until you have tapped that zone, right? So how do you ensure that somebody who wants to change their job zone or job industry entirely, have that dignified and at the same time confident approach so that they're not scared to maybe experiment? Because a lot of people are perhaps not satisfied with their jobs, but they still keep on doing the same thing because they have that fear that if I change, this is going to happen. How do you see more and more people giving up on that fear and going ahead?
Sure. So that's a very good question. Now, what happens when you want to change an industry? So you want to go from maybe FMCG industry into the telecom industry, or you want to move to the services hotel industry. People do come to me for that kind of a coaching. Now, there it is very important. One basic thing I always coach everybody on is, first of all, as a job seeker, you are a solution provider. You are not really a candidate. You are not really your candidature. You are a solution provider. So have you understood the pain point of every job? Assuming you want to shift from one industry to another, definitely that job also has a pain. So I make them work hard on understanding the pain point of the job. Once you understand the pain point, before you even make an application, mind you,
correct,
first, because you want to understand whether, this industry move will be good for me. Will I be confident? Will I have the skills and expertise to actually grow in this industry the way I've grown in my current industry?
True.
So once you understand the pain point of the job, you are able to automatically ask yourself that, will I be able to solve this problem? So if I'm in operations and I'm in the telecom industry, want to move to the FMCG industry, from one industry to another in that same role, break down the role into different aspects, see what are the kind of skills that are required, and list them down as transferable skills and non-transferable skills. There are certain domain skills which will remain for that particular industry. Leave them aside. Look at the transferable skills, understand the pain points, and whether you have those transferable skills in you or no. Can you hone them up? Are you confident? So suppose there are about 8 transferable skills that you identify, because this is going to be the pain point. Pain point as in you have to solve that problem, because all of us here are to solve problems, right? So can you solve that problem with these 8 skill sets? And out of those 8 skills, are you good with say 6 or 7, or are you just good with 1 or 2? Then don't risk that industry. You might want to join it, but you don't. But still, if you want to join it, then you need to hone it. So it has to be a very considered decision on the basis of his understanding of the pain of the job and the skills that he brings to the table, more so the transferable skills.
I think that's a lovely way of putting it, because in that way you're kind of bringing a quantitative approach to the entire thing, that you list down the points which are perhaps yours. It's like a SWOT analysis, I believe.
Yes.
So I think that kind of definitely helps someone to hone their skills and get better. Last question, sir, before I let you.
I'd like to add one. What happens if suppose somebody says that, okay, I have these skills. So I tell them that if you have these skills, can you demonstrate with a success story the use of these skills and some outcome that you deliver? I have these skills. These are the 8 skills. I have these 6 skills. Okay, tell me at least 2-3 stories pertaining to these skills where you use them and delivered results. Can you demonstrate? Because, before you start making application, if you've done all this homework yourself, then you are more confident in an interview or while making an application. So I make them do a lot of homework before they even start making an application, which is the biggest mistake every job seeker does. Just, it's like just seeing a job and making applications. Many times I've come across, sorry to say, people have applied for jobs, they've not even read the JD.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think that comes out of desperation, maybe because of need of job. But at the end of the day, you can't really disqualify the fact, or you cannot. You have to acknowledge the fact that that's not the right way to go ahead. Of course, I totally get your point. Last question, sir, before I let you go, that would be that as somebody who bridges the gap between say knowledge for both a job seeker as well as a job provider, how do you ensure that with the kind of knowledge and information that you disseminate, how do you ensure that both of them are in a happy and position where they both are kind of learning something or the other? Because the kind of information that you're providing, of course, it is absolutely beneficial for job seekers who are seeking a job. But how are you also simultaneously providing information which is probably helpful to the employers who are looking forward to candidates?
Sure. So I've spent about 15 years in recruitment, executive search, before I started this 6 months back. So with my recruitment experience, I have developed a good amount of equity with maybe the HR heads and some of the employer CEOs in the companies, or maybe people who are at business head level. So I am in touch with them on a constant basis in any case. So I also know when I'm giving something, there are so many HR heads writing to me that, this was a fantastic point that you mentioned, and I think we need to look at this. Or sometimes HR heads are also constantly adding to that. That's why I mentioned I formed a group where, that in that group, you can have the HR person also giving his, or the employer also giving their inputs, and the job seeker is also there in that same group. So there is a balance that I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, there is a balance that I'm trying to achieve in terms of what is happening. And I do interview HR heads once a month regularly, and where I ask these questions, that this is how the approach is. What do you think of the approach? So I directly get it from the horse's mouth, the prospective employer, that whether this kind of an approach, like for example, if I'm saying soft skills are they important or no? Yes, they are important. That's coming also from the employer. So I also keep validating what I'm saying from the employer side. Ultimately, there has to be a balance between the two, but my intent is actually to help the job seeker market his candidates. That's my primary intent, because there are many good candidates, but they do not know how to market their skills and expertise. They are not in a position to present their value proposition. So that's my main purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir, for this informative chat. It's a pleasure. And I think I've learned a bit of insight from you as well. I hope to be in touch with you here onwards as well. So that maybe a lot of my career can also get a boost and push here onwards. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It's a pleasure. And I wish you all the best. I hope you keep continuing doing whatever you're doing right now in the best ways possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Bye. God bless. Bye.